kind of map, colors of pieces. Oh, yep. Writing a novel here.
Your theme ingredient is home is not safe. And when you are ready, once you have absorbed that into your souls, once you are ready to begin the fight, I say, allez, design!
At the moment, considering the idea of it being that home isn't safe, having a kind of thing where it's the whether it's like the kids in a house, trying to deal with something we've yet to come up with. Yeah.
I really wanted something that included a sense of personal investment, but also included a slight edge to it.
We're thinking of trying to go for a scenario in which we are some sort of political or security megacorp trying to convince you that your home is in fact not safe. Yeah.
Say, you know, there's themes of like surveillance and fear and all of these sort of things, so you could sort of take a more political current events type approach, or you could just go completely the other way and just do, you know, sci-fi, zombies, aliens, pod people.
We've decided to come up with a meerkat burrow as the theme of the game. And we're going to make it a deck builder style game.
It's a fun theme.
It's a fun theme. So we brainstormed a whole lot of ideas. The one that we've gone with at the moment is you are in an actual normal home, except there's weirder stuff that's happening there that's continually getting worse and worse, and it's turn-based and cooperative.
I like the theme. I'm hoping, obviously I work for Oxfam, and so I'm hoping that someone comes up with like an asylum seeker refugee style game where if there's budgie smugglers, I will be extremely impressed.
We're trying to think laterally, but we're sort of just exploring 3 or 4 different ideas and see which one sticks. Yeah.
So the premise of the game day was home is no longer safe, so we figured we'd take that literally and think that Earth is no longer safe and we need to expand out into the stars and explore the galaxies. So.
I like the theme. Home can mean a lot of different things. It can mean a house or a place where you live, or it can just mean some kind of game theme where you've got to get to a place, you've got to get home, but then you're not safe there. That's not the end game. You don't just win. Something dramatic happens.
I thought it was great that the 3 judges were entirely different. So you had the lady who was, she was a designer, so she sat down and was just like bullet points. Who's this for? What are you aiming to do? What's this? Okay. And you have Kevin sit down. He's like, goes mechanics, breaks those down very quickly. And then you have the lady who's just like, has done some played games, and she's just like, all right, tell me how to play this. And so if she can get it, then.
Yeah.
So basically it's a hidden role game, and everyone but the mole knows the code word, but they're trying to identify each other without letting the mole know what the code word is.
We're deciding about exactly the system, if we want it to be competitive, if we want it to be cooperative, if we want there to be betrayal. We want to get the broad strokes down fast.
Yeah, and so there was a bag full of pieces like this, but these 3 pieces were left in the bag and everything else taken.
Well, I am surprised that everyone is so enthusiastic and positive, because I'd be quite nervous at the moment, but everyone seems like they kind of know what they're doing, so that's good.
You know, sometimes there's 48-hour or 24-hour game design challenges. When it boils down to 2 hours, the important thing is you keep energy. People kind of realize that they've got a deadline. They have to keep thinking, they have to keep iterating quickly, they have to keep innovating quickly, and you can't get too attached to things if things need to go straight away.
2 hours is not long to design a game. If they've got the germ of a good idea and a game that doesn't fall apart under the slightest pressure, I'll be very impressed.
So here we see the things that aren't being used. Some of the colourful rubbers are gone. The little Chinese man is still here, but his the little warrior from Warhammer's gone. Those counters. Some of the colouring pencils are still here. Most of the counters are gone. The twine, the wooden geese are gone. The money's still here.
So I'm currently putting room cards together for this board game. You're going to be constructing your house.
Downside obviously being the versions we've got here, there's only 2 sets, there's the yellow and the white one, each of which has a different code word. For the game to work in reality, you'd either need a hell of a lot of cards.
Blowing the stuff so it's dry, doesn't slide off with your texture art. Very important.
It is, especially in prototypes, right?
Yep. And some sticking here, making a A3 piece of paper and sticking some cards. The cards aren't stuck to the paper though? No, okay.
We've finished writing out a full deck of cards. Now we're going to move into actually prototyping the game out. Basically, the game is looking like it is going to be a little bit about controlling the assets the game actually has. So right now it is the level of security of your home or country versus the amount of terrorism or threats that you're actually saying is in the country.
I feel like we don't have enough time, but we have a very clear idea of what we're doing. So.
Yeah, we're currently playtesting it, yeah.
Do we have a name yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
And I'm going to harvest again. You've got to be kidding me.
We've got a playable game at this point. Whether or not it's fun is still deciding.
Okay. Don't have enough players to test.
Okay, well that's...
We've got a fun game.
Excellent.
Yeah, so the meerkat burrows, and this is the surface.
Yep.
Your initial burrow. So if you build a chamber that's up at the surface, you can have a meerkat above the surface, capable of hopping up and down.
Yep.
So these go in each room.
Yep.
And at each round you turn one over, and so like the next one comes up. It's basically escalating trouble.
Just told them they have 15 minutes left, so they're getting quite alarmed and quite nervous. At 6:35, all craft must cease, and they have to put down their pencils, and judging will begin, and it will be harsh, but it will be fair.
What I look for in games is elegance, a sophisticated elegance, that things are tied to a central mechanic, both in terms of the flavor and how the game plays. The other one is just fun.
Yeah, I like just really easy games that you can learn very quickly and play together. So,
as a developer of mobile games, something I'm always interested in is, can I take this board game, can I take this game that's played with physical bits and pieces and take that core game loop and put it into a mobile device? And
what I personally look for in a game are mechanics that keep my interest after several plays through. I'm not a big theme guy. I like theme, but if the theme is terrible, it doesn't really bug me as long as the mechanics are sound.
I hope that we get like a really good mix and variety of various different games to make it really annoying and hard for the judges.
So our game is French Resistance, and it's a hidden role game. It's that you're the French Resistance, you're meeting in a house, there's a convoy about to come past that you're going to attack in 5 minutes, but there's a mole in your numbers. You've got that 5 minutes. During that time, so each player gets a card with their role on it. They're either Resistance, in which case they know what the password is. It's on the card, and one person gets the mole card. After a quick play test, we've made it a bit easier for the mole, so they get a few of the letters of the password, but the rest is blanks. You've got to kind of flirt with saying too much, but not saying too little as well. Like, we had a basic framework for the gameplay by about 1 hour in. Then we were stuck for playtesters because there wasn't enough people on the team to actually playtest it. Yeah, I'm conscious that 2 hours is no time at all to design a game, so complexity went out the window.
We are Table Tyrant Games.
We are, and the game that we've created today is called After Earth. Space exploration?
Exploration and resource management.
Resource management.
We've only got half of the exploration tiles that we really wanted to put in, but to balance 50 cards in 2 hours would be just too much. So we've only started off with 25 cards.
Let's play test it a little bit probably for about a good 40 minutes through the game thing, and we had a lot of fun actually.
Yeah,
it was good. Really, we
yeah.
We heard the theme and we had an idea then that okay, well, how about we go with this, and then
we kind of set ourselves a little challenge coming in today as well, that because we make a lot of like fantasy idea games, so we kind of said no, let's see if we can do something with space or sci-fi, and then when home is no longer here, we're like, oh, that's perfect. Home is no longer safe.
We kind of jumped in head first, and I think we created a fun little game. This I think the shell that we've got with this game within the 2-hour span has been fantastic. I think that we can definitely push it forward and hopefully produce something with a little more meat on the bone, as they say. But this is a really great start to a little fun game. I think it's
the Die of Horus.
And the game is Home is Not Safe.
Your 3 kids alone at home, parents have gone off, the babysitter has left the windows open, and the house is getting invaded by pests.
The pests escalate in danger throughout the whole game in terms of their threat level, and what you're doing is you're running through the house and opening and closing doors to try and channel the pests towards each other so predators kill predators and not you.
It's a collaborative game. You've got different sort of you've got 3 actions that you can take every game. You have to make 1 move. You can take 3 moves if you can, and you can open and close doors. So different people might have different ideas about which way they want to run around. There's also interaction between the animals, between the pests. That to make it more complex, they actually strengthen each other. Some strengthen each other, some harm each other. In the base game, they're just kind of harming each other.
Our first tactic was brainstorm, let everything in, but then let's just go with the idea that we're excited with right at the very beginning, and we could iterate with the design as opposed to trying to figure out what was the best, to sort of jump in that way.
Yeah, we started kind of implementing certain constructs along the way. So it's like, okay, we need pests, let's make pest cards. Once we had pest cards, okay, what happens? We need to make the room cards. How big do we make the room? Has to fit the pests. Everything kind of unfolded pretty well from there.
It was in the sense of as we were writing things down or cutting them up or laying it out, it was a case of quickly going through in a head, what would the player be doing, and then realizing, oh, there's a gap there, or that doesn't work in that way.
The team was Team 2. Yep. And the game was Home Invasion, although everyone kept referring to it as Panic Room.
The poorly placed.
Because we put a Panic Room label right in front of the judge every time we play it. So they're like, oh, it's the game's Panic Room. Like, no, it's. Anyway, and so the game idea was basically that your home is being invaded, and so everyone in the house is rushed to the Panic Room, where you have devised a means of laying traps throughout your house. And so at the build phase, people were putting down cards, and they needed to make a complete trap in a room. You needed the trigger and the trap and the modifier. And so when the intruder goes into the room, we look at what the trigger is, and every intruder has a trigger that they're immune to. Yep. So if they're not immune to it, we check what the modifier is, and then the modifier and the trap combine. The triggers are like a wire or a pressure plate or just the door, and then the traps might be like a drop trap or a pit or a pendulum or just firing stuff at them. Yeah. And then the modifiers are things like marbles, electricity, blades, weights.
Spent like the first half hour just discussing it to try and get an idea. And I think overall, like, the idea we got was pretty good, and it was really had a lot of room for like creating a really cool game. But in terms of being able to have enough time to create the game we wanted to create, we definitely had to cut corners.
It did the complexity did sort of drop a few times. Like, 'cause literally, it's like 2 hours, and it was a lot more workable than I expected it to be. Yeah. Like, I was expecting at this point to not have all we basically got everything we needed done to show them what the game worked, and I was expecting to not have that. Yeah. We got past after the first judge. I was just like, oh wow,
you've got some.
we have a game.
Game name is Motivated Meerkats.
We were looking for a name for the company, and then when we started going with the game, we pretty much just ran with it.
Matt wanted an animal and an adjective, so...
Yeah, that's how you name things.
The game is a combination of deck builder and worker placement. It'll scale up, I think, to probably 6 players, minimum 2.
Over time you're building up this sort of tunnel system and trying to avoid getting eaten by predators. Like each round you're getting score for how many meerkats are still alive at the end of the round?
Yes, so your population increases and that's the source of your score, basically.
Yeah, you're losing and gaining a lot of meerkats all the time. It's mostly just a lot of fun. It's good for kids.
It's absolutely playable.
It's a lot of fun, really. Like, I'm surprised how well it works.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It should go through an art phase, and Matthew is an artist as well.
I can do that, yeah.
Fantastic.
And I think then it may be ready for some more play testing and some kickstartering.
The world is not safe and your house is not safe, but we are a megacorp. We control the news media, we control the security, and we are able to identify threats that are terrorists and deal with them before they become a problem, because we care about you. We believe that 3 to 5 players is absolutely the sweet spot, and we've aimed for 10 to 15 minutes because the judges were playing for 10 to 15 minutes. Let's do it. We have a terror meter which tells us how many terrorists are attempting to infiltrate us at any time, and we dispatch squads of justice in the form of playing action cards to find the tiny little terrorist men and drag them into our tiny little terrorist holding cells. Sometimes we've been known to go overboard, and then the public gives us a much undeserved brutality rating, which means that we can be eliminated from competition. Our first plan was to go to the black box where we found tiny little houses and we found tiny little orange Space Invader aliens that we decided looked a little bit terroristy. The pressure was intense and the pressure on my bladder continues to grow. It was good. Yeah, none of us have taken each other off Facebook. No? I'm gonna check.
Check it off.
I'll check later. I'll check later. But my impression now is we're solid. Oh man, we learned how to do things quick. Yeah. The next time you run this, we'll be here. Tiny little hats.
Fantastic.
We are Rule and Make, and our game is Spooky Sleepover.
So as you move from room to room, you're using different items to try and beat the room to move on to the next room. Okay. Simple sort of turn where basically you choose to either defeat the room or scavenge around the room for more items to help you beat the room next turn.
So the strategy comes in from, in effort to beat the room, you actually have to use an item that is of equal or greater value. So every time that you beat the room though, the number goes higher. For the next person who is behind you, it's actually more difficult for the person to actually beat it. You can actually combine items of the same type to actually get a higher value. But the problem with combining items is that if it's a 5 and a 5 to beat a 10 because it's equal or higher value, then only the top card counts in this instance, so that room now becomes a 5. So one of the things that I think that we set out to do in this is we wanted to know, we scoped it in a way that we knew that we could actually complete a game from start to finish and be completely playable within 2 hours. So the limited components really did help ensure that we don't actually just get too ambitious.
So we've played, without even the judges, we've played 3 games ourselves.
We play tested 3 games, yeah. I like it. I'm already thinking about the theme, and the art would look really fantastic with all these sort of fantastical creatures, and the bedroom, which is like a half room, half adventure place. It's going to look really nice. We usually let the design or the mechanics or whatever inspire us. So having something that was the goal in which we need to design for is definitely an interesting challenge. And it's sort of, we'll learn some things that we thought was really quite useful.
French Resistance by Tim I'd also like to, if we're able to run this again, I'd like to invite you back to be the Iron Chef, to take on the challenges that will face you in the next board game stadium. So thank you very much everybody for making this an absolutely fantastic evening. I hope you will come back again and try your luck again and see if you can beat these two guys. Okay.